So welcome to part 1 of an 8-part video series I'm doing to show you a sea glass mosaic in this antique church window. So if you'll see, this church window has 8 panes of glass. So in each video I'm going to do 1 pane of glass, and then at the end of the 8 videos I'll do the big reveal and show you the entire window all completed in a beautiful sea glass mosaic. Well, I hope it's going to be beautiful. We'll see. So if you joined me for my last 2 videos, you would have seen me challenge myself to work really small. And I did a couple of really small sea glass mosaics, but I absolutely love to work big, so I'm quite excited to start this project. I know it's going to take me a while. About 4 years ago, I got these 2 windows when they were moved from a church in our local community. And I did finish the sea glass mosaic in this one, and this one took me a really long time. I decided in this one I wanted to do the tree of life, but for this one that I'm starting today, I'm planning to do an abstract design. I'm not going to show you my pattern because I want it to be a big reveal at the end. How you can see over the course of 8 videos, I'll do each pane of glass, and each pane of glass will look unique in itself. But then when you bring it all together in a great big piece, you can see how things are so much more interesting than any one pane of glass. So the 2 things that I will tell you about my design, I'm planning to do it abstract. It'll probably evolve a little bit as I go. And the second thing I'll tell you is that I'm planning to work darker towards the bottom and lighter towards the top. And other than that, you're going to have to see it piece by piece and then the big reveal at the end. So in this video, I'm doing this pane of glass down here, number 1. So let's get started on that. So this pane of glass measures 9.5 inches wide and 11.5 inches tall. And this is the bottom of an 8-pane window. So I know I want to have a lot of weight in the bottom. So I'm planning to put a lot of big chunky browns down here in the bottom. So I have a tray of my big chunky browns out, and I'll be arranging a lot of those down here. And I also want to put in a nunchuck. I put in a nunchuck in every one of my pieces. And the symbolism behind the nunchuck for me is a reminder that when you've passed your way through on this earth, that you leave a mark. So it's just that reminder that I was here, and we all need to be conscious of what mark we're leaving behind when we pass through the earth. So I wanted to put a really big nunchuck at the bottom of this piece because this is going to be a really large piece by the time I finish it. And I also want to put a lot of big circles in this one. So I've chosen a white bottle bottom. This piece of glass is just amazing. It's really old and it's really well finished. And then I found this really large green bottle bottom that I want to put right there. I don't usually find them that large. I'm not even sure what that was. It was probably a big 2-liter bottle of pop at one point. So I'm going to work at doing a lot of browns to fill in the rest of this. And because this is the bottom of a large piece, I know I want a lot of browns because it adds a lot of weight to the bottom. And this is a primarily brown pane of glass, except I'm putting a strip of white here and green here and brown here. That all of these strips are going to be really tiny pieces as opposed to the rest of it, which is going to be very large at the bottom and then smaller as I go up. The other thing that I want to do here is include a bunch of tops of bottles, so bottle rims, and those are really big and chunky and they kind of curl up, so it adds a lot of weight to the bottom of the piece. going to fill in the rest of the pane of glass with brown sea glass. Now you might be thinking that that might be a little bit boring, that there's quite a bit of space here that's going to be brown. But in actual fact, I think by the time you see the entire piece, which is going to be 8 panes of window, a lot of brown in the bottom is really going to help ground the piece and give it a really good sense of balance. So I think it'll work out in the end. The other thing, I know a lot of people aren't really big fans of brown, whereas for me, I absolutely love brown sea glass. I find it's got a lot of depth to it, and I think the brown is a beautiful color when it's, especially when it's in the window and the light shining through it. It adds an awful lot to a piece of art. The other thing that I'm going to do to add some interest to this piece is I picked out some of my black sea glass. This is considered to be black sea glass. Well, that one's obviously green, but this is black until you hold it up to the light, and then you see that it's a deep olive green. And I'm going to put a line of this in here, and it will really add some interest, especially when you hold this piece up to the light, or if it's in a window. You'll see that these pieces of glass are something different. So it'll help break up the brown look a tiny bit and just give it a little bit more interest. And the other thing that I've done is I'm going to put in some triangles and just try to do a little bit of secondary pattern with some of my brown sea glass. So one of the things I sometimes find with a lot of these big chunky brown pieces, they're really old and they're really frosted, and they're almost a little too frosted. I really like my sea glass frosted, and I don't want to put any type of finish on it that will make it shine again. But sometimes with these really old pieces, I find if I rub them with my finger, just the oils from my finger can help them shine a little bit. I don't know if you can see the difference, but just rubbing that with a bit of oil makes it shine a little bit more. So one of the things that I'll sometimes do is I have a little jar of Vaseline, and I put the tiniest bit, and I mean a really tiny bit, on my finger, and I'll just rub the tiniest bit on some of those really frosty pieces, just to make them shine a little bit more. Because sometimes some of those really old, well-finished pieces are just a little bit too dull. And then if you put too much Vaseline on, you can always rub it off. It'll wash right off. But I do find it helps it pick it up, make it a little bit more alive. Don't put too much on. That first one there, I put a little bit too much on, so I'll just have to rub it off. So thanks very much for joining me today. I hope you found this really helpful, and it gives you a bit of an idea of where I'm going to go with this really large sea glass window. And be sure to join me next time when I go on to do part 2. Until next time, happy sea glass hunting.